right, here we are. It's week 3 of our ongoing video series on the Shasta County Jail. We call it Shasta County Jail, a new look, and it's week 3 now, and today we're going to talk about a project that has taken a lot of work to iron out. It's taken a lot of behind the scenes work with a lot of different groups, and that is an inmate transportation project. And I'm joined this week by Shasta County Under Sheriff Brian Jackson, who's going to discuss this project. And this is a project, Under Sheriff, that is really necessitated by the new courthouse that is going to be across the street, right?
That is correct. So with the new courthouse going across the street, we've had to make some changes with how we're going to be able to get inmates over to court for their court hearings because the displacement of Department 1 and 2, where we used to send most of our inmates to court, is now going to be vacated by the courts, and that's going to be part of our jail transportation and reprogramming project that we've already started this year.
Okay. Now, one of the things that we hear a lot out there in the public is, wow, you know, we've talked about we need a new jail, we need more beds, that type of thing. We should have built a new jail before a new courthouse. Now, this new courthouse, it is not a Shasta County project, correct? We have heard folks say that we should have built the jail before the courthouse, but that's not how this works because it is not a Shasta County project, right?
Correct. So even though we have the Shasta County Courthouse, it's a state project funded by state dollars. Obviously, the original Shasta County Courthouse on Court Street is an older building. The courts had to take opportunities, obviously, to capture monies that were available by the state over the last several years, so that they could upgrade and create the new courthouse. But as far as the Shasta County projects, there in the years past, there's been projects out there to build new courthouses, but those haven't made it. So, having the new courthouse and not having a new jail doesn't really have too much impact on how things are going to operate, and it's just one of those things that we're working through. And obviously, we're trying to get a new jail and as well as expand our current facility.
Okay, so very shortly that courthouse will be operational. I know the timeline for it opening has moved back a few times because supply chain issues and construction and that type of thing, but that will create a logistical problem. And what is that problem that we ran into?
Well, like I touched on earlier, getting the inmates that need to go to court to the courthouse. So what we've been working on for the last year and a half is trying to identify how we can get the inmates basically across the street to where the new courthouse is, because of the Department 1 and Department 2 being vacated. And what we've worked with many county officials, worked with the courts, and we developed a court transportation program where we'll still be able to utilize Department 1 and Department 2 to get the inmates from our main facility to a Sallyport staging area where they can be picked up by the courts and then shuttled over to the courthouse throughout the day as needed.
Okay, and some people may say, how hard could it be? Get a couple deputies, just walk them right across the street. That can't happen, right?
It could happen, but logistically, it's probably not the most prudent thing for us to do. Obviously, there's the safety and the security of the inmates, which we're responsible for, the safety and security of our staff, very important consideration, as well as, the Court Street's a busy Court Street's a busy street, and we would have to shut down parts of the street to walk the inmates across, and that just wouldn't be prudent.
And there's always more details that people might not think about. Once we get inmates over to that courthouse and they're waiting to be seen for whatever they're going to be in court for, there's a bunch of rules and regulations that have to be followed once those inmates are over at the courthouse, right, while they're waiting.
Yes, and we've worked with the courts and the marshal's office that runs the courthouse security. There is a temporary court holding facility that is at the courthouse where the inmates that leave the Shasta County Jail can be temporarily housed until they have their court appearance that day, and then they'll be brought back to the jail and be rehoused at that point.
Okay, let's talk about staffing. What does this plan do for a jail that is already, we are already trying to get bodies in there in the jail, competent folks to do that position. What does that do for the staffing with this transportation project?
Well, as we all know, our staffing at the jail has been at critical stages for quite a while, just more recently in the last year. So with the addition of this court transportation system, we're working with staff to identify areas that we can streamline within the jail to free up staff members to run this part of the facility, as well as our continued efforts with recruitment, hiring. So we're at those stages now where we're just trying to figure out exactly what the best operational plan, so that way when the courthouse does come up online, we have to start transporting inmates. It has the least impact to our current staff, as well as new staff coming in, as well as try to limit as much overtime that our staff would be required to work to run that part of the facility. So we're continuing to work on that. We do have some options that that myself, the sheriff, and command staff, as well as line staff, are going to look at to see what is the best option with the staff we currently have. And as we get more staff that come online, it'll just streamline our processes and make the workloads easier. And that's our biggest goals that we're targeting right now.
Okay. The clock is ticking, but it does look like we are going to have this courthouse that's open, at least in a month or so. How are we looking to being able to have that transportation plan in place and going on day one when that courthouse is open?
Well, yeah, when the courthouse opens, we have to do something to get the inmates across the street to the courthouse. So, like I said, we have a couple plans in place. I'm going to present them to staff over the next week, as long as with the sheriff, and get that part of this component solidified now that we have the transportation facility, the temporary facility up. So that way, when the courthouse goes live, that we're ready to function with the least amount of impact to our staff, as well as making sure our staff are safe, taken care of, as well as making sure the inmates' needs are taken care of.
All right, Under Sheriff Jackson, thank you for explaining that. A very quick way of explaining something that's taken a long time to put into effect, and like you said, I think we'll be ready for when that courthouse does open. This is again part of our ongoing series on the jail, where we're looking at topics that are specific to that. You can see all of these on shastasheriff.org. You go to the jail tab, the jail menu, and it's underneath there as Shasta County Jail, a closer look, all of the videos that we've done before and the videos that we'll do in the future. So thank you for watching, and again, Under Sheriff, thank you for being here.
You bet, thank you.
All right.